everyone, and welcome back to Prevention Works. I'm your co-host, Emily Hatchell, the Opioid Program Specialist.
And I'm Michelle Simons, Prevention Coordinator, and we're here with our two guests, Robin Tobin and Vanetta Sharp. Both of them good friends of mine.
Yes, we are. Oh, yeah.
Happy to have them here.
Happy to be here.
Thanks. So today's show, we're going to talk about recovery and sort of the different avenues that it's taken. The three of us, and Emily as our host, are all in long-term recovery, and we've kind of watched things kind of move around differently as we watch things unfold. So I'll start off just asking if there's, any way that you sort of want to introduce yourself or how you introduce yourself as somebody in recovery.
Sure. So I usually identify myself as my name is Robin and I'm an addict. And I go from there and tell my story depending on what platform I'm on. I've been in recovery for 23 years. Wow. And it hasn't been an easy task by any means,
yep.
But it has sure been rewardable. So I'm very grateful to be where I am today.
Yeah.
And I'll talk more about how I got there after.
Sounds good.
Good. I'm Vanetta, and I am an addict in recovery. And like Robin said, recovery is not easy, but it's very rewarding. Commitment is the first step to it. You have to commit to want to change some things in your life, and all us will follow. It's been, well, I've been in recovery I'm in my 27th year, and by the grace of God, it just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Keeps getting better.
Agreed. So there's a lot of different definitions of recovery. And before the show started, we were actually having this conversation. I was like, save it for the show. So we hear a lot of different things, like you're in recovery when you say you are. SAMHSA has a definition that I'll probably get wrong. Do you have it on the top of your head?
No, I do not.
So it talks about a process of change and growth. It doesn't necessarily mention anything specific. So, and I think everybody individually has a personal definition of what that is. So would either of you guys like to share what that is for you?
Sure. Like you said, there are many definitions, and I've heard a lot of times recovery is finding something you once lost. I don't consider that my definition, because what I have today I never had.
Right.
So for me, it's a whole new experience. It's a change of the way I think, the way I act, my behaviors.
Yep.
I don't do any of the things that I used to do, and so recovery is really, for me, it's freedom.
Yeah.
It's freedom from self, freedom from active addiction.
Yep.
That's how I look at it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I look at it, recovery, discovery, like Robin said. What I have today was never there. It wasn't lost somewhere.
Right.
I always say that I was raised in recovery through the 12-step program that I still attend on a regular basis today.
Yeah.
Other people's experience, their strength, their hope for me, and basically paying attention to the rules of life. Recovery is about rules of life.
Yeah.
And for me, it has to be put that way. I know for a lot of people, they say, "Oh, rules. I don't listen to rules." But I had to have rules for my recovery to be successful in recovery and to sustain what I have today.
Right.
Recovery for me is totally different. It's not treatment. Recovery is the work that I continue to do on Vanetta for the good of Vanetta, for me to be good for others, because in order for me to be an example for other women or men in recovery, I have to maintain a standard in my lifestyle of recovery in order for them to see that it does work.
Yeah.
So recovery for me is discovery, discovering something once that I didn't know anything about. And today, I know it's okay, to live by some principles, not to be afraid, to be honest about who I am, what I am, and what works for me in my life.
Right. I feel like, we have sort of an edge even on everyday people because we get to kind of look deeper within ourselves all the time. I know I think Robin and I had this conversation not that long ago. I was like, I want to share, when I first asked you to come on the show, because I really want to express like the joy and the bonds that people form in recovery. You know, on your average, people don't have to look at themselves because they don't have a life-threatening thing that they're sort of like self-destructing and doing to themselves. So there's no reason to sort of, you know, why would I look at anything unless something's really got me backed against a wall?
Right.
Now with recovery, it's something, you know, we have to, it's not that we're fighting this, or at least I'll speak for myself, like fighting to stay away from a drug every day, but it's kind of really self-reflecting on a daily basis and constantly growing no matter how long we've been here, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when you said that it's not fighting to stay away from a drug, recovery covers, for me, in my recovery, it covers more than just a drug.
Yeah.
It covers, like you said, behavior, my eating habits, how well do I want to take care of myself, my spiritual well-being,
Right.
my mental well-being. So it's a variety of lifestyle changes for my recovery in order for the pieces to fit together, you
Right.
know, and just keep pushing on no matter what, because life is full of trials and tribulations. There's no perfect life.
Right.
And every day for a recovering addict is a challenge, because there's things you can get involved in that don't necessarily have to do with a drug.
Right.
You know, there's gambling, scratch tickets,
Yeah.
there's, you know, promiscuous, you know, being, you know, you have to recover completely through and through, like shed it out and start the balance of life.
Yeah.
And you talked about the bonds that happen through this process, and that was something that I was really afraid of in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because when I got here, I was 42 years old, and I didn't want to tell anybody anything. I didn't want to take the suggestions, or as Vanetta said, the rules, or the guidelines, whatever you want to call them. It's called the 12 steps through the
Right.
12-step program.
Right.
Doing that was very terrifying.
Yeah.
And being able to do it and learning how from people along the way.
Yeah.
Those bonds that grow are incredible, because I always thought I could do this on my own.
Yeah.
And
We all
anytime,
did.
and anytime I thought that, I got
Yeah.
myself in more trouble.
Yeah.
So those bonds are invaluable. Like I can't, there are no words to describe
Right.
what
I
has
agree.
happened in this process because of that. And so what happens is you become so close with people in that realm that sometimes you don't even have to open your mouth anymore. You can look at somebody and you know
Right.
that something's up,
Something's up.
and you can help the other person just by saying, "What's up?"
Yep. I see
Because
you.
I know something's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and for me, for myself, I'm really grateful for that, because sometimes I still get stuck in that.
Yeah.
And somebody, because I've let people in, they know, and they can ask me the same thing.
Yeah.
So it works both ways. So I'm grateful for that,
Yeah.
for this process.
Yeah, it's huge. I think even just contacting, I don't see you guys every day by any means. You know, Vanetta and I run into each other walking down the beach or
Yeah.
jogging once in a while. And, but just reaching out and talking to both of you guys, it was like, you know, even though
Yesterday.
it's, right, it's just that connection right there.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's cool.
That's it. Connections are important. I know for me, I have 6 siblings, and my connections with people in the 12-step program and in my recovery world, in my recovery lifestyle,
Yeah.
are more closer than they are with my siblings. Not that I don't love my siblings, but for me to be able to express to them what I express to my network of people in my life, they'll be looking at me like I'm crazy.
It doesn't
Like,
go well.
It doesn't go well?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Something's wrong with you. What do you mean? You know?
Yeah.
So it's important to develop relationships in this process. And when you develop relationships, you know that the person genuinely, when they say something to you, it's a genuine suggestion. It's genuine. It's not fake. It's not because they want something from you. But the bond that you have, like Robin said, the eye contact. You know, the voice on the phone. If you have a real strong bond with people, like when I call Robin on the phone, she'll say, "What's wrong?"
Yeah.
I can't say nothing.
Yeah.
My mouth will not say nothing.
Yeah.
Because I already know that she know. So, and vice versa. And so that's important to have people in your life that you can reach out to and trust.
Yeah.
And trust. And building that for me, and this not, it may not be easy for everybody, but I have no secrets and anymore. I can't afford them because a secret for me, just one, will set me up to start to tell more, to keep more things secret and not be honest. And with this disease, I live with a disease. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
And I have to be real clear that if I don't tell the truth, my disease sits right up and says, well, she told one little lie. Oh, it's coming, And so that's how I have to look at this disease that I live with, It's very cunning,
Yep.
baffling, and insidious. Tricks you.
Yeah.
Because the spirit that I live with today,
Yeah.
my disease doesn't want that spirit light to stay on. It wants it to get dim and dark and trap me in another hole. And that's where a lot of people, I believe, in recovery, kind of like do a downfall, spiral downfall, is because they don't keep committed
Right.
to what they know works for them.
Yeah.
I think how you described it is really interesting because we just saw the play Recovery.
Yeah.
And she portrays it like that, somebody there like creeping in when something happens and trying to get it. So it's just really interesting connecting it to what you said.
Absolutely. Yeah, this woman, Ann Lucas, put this play on and it was playing a couple of weeks ago in Marblehead and called Recovery. And she portrayed it very accurately. And the disease of addiction was actually played by a person.
Okay.
So every time, like Emily said, every time.
Kind of how you were describing it, it would like just pop up behind them and like try.
Be like, hey,
I'm right here.
I'm right here. I got a bottle. I got
And, and that's how I look at it. I have to because that's the cunningness and the baffling and insidious part that they talk about. It's lurking. It's 27 years. My disease doesn't care anything about those 27 years. It doesn't care about the work that I've done on myself. It doesn't care about none of that because it is very powerful and it wants me to remember how powerful it is. So every now and then something will creep in. Mostly by way of those children that we get back in our lives, and anybody who's, thinking about, the children, fighting for your children, fight for them. But just remember that there's more fighting to do because the disease of addiction will use anything it can to creep in. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sits there and waits.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
It waits for the vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then wants to take hold. And all that is centered in my mind. And so that's the importance of being able to ask for help and being able to share with other people so that I don't get stuck in there. Because if I get stuck in there, I'm in a lot of trouble.
A lot of trouble.
A lot of trouble. It's not a safe place to be. No one yet has said to me, you can go back upstairs and play alone. So I can't because I know it's just a matter of time. And if I might not use drugs today, but I might use something else, like Vanetta said earlier, or I might, down the road, because I've been there. I had some time before. I had 8 years.
Yeah.
And then one day I thought it would be a good idea just to try a little, just to see.
Yeah.
I forgot I was an addict.
Yeah.
And it kept me out there for 3 years.
Right.
And when I came back, I knew I had to do things differently. And I knew I had to do a 12-step program. And I knew I had to ask for help. And even though I didn't want to, but it was just like that. It was just one decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I've learned now that it's a matter of you don't pick up no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what's happening, I can't use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have a voice, and I have, like you described, that feeling, that spirit.
The spirit.
I know now, even though my brain will trick me at any time, it's a physical, mental, and spiritual disease. And so if I don't feel something is right, I know it's wrong.
Yeah.
And then I can make that healthy choice for myself and not pick it up. And I know that, like a person I know, we all know, says, if I leave it right here,
Yeah.
I'm not going to use
I'm not
it.
going to
Yeah.
use it. That's right.
Because I have to actually pick it up
Physical.
in order to use it. Like, it's not going to chase me down the street.
Yeah.
You know, I have to make that choice. And as long as I am clean, I can make that choice. Once I pick it up, the choice is over.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't ever want to not have that freedom of
Exactly.
choice again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's cool. So you talked about like developing that real like conscience inside of us, understanding really what's okay for us and what's not, and trusting that. And I think when people first get clean, they don't trust themselves. I hear that constantly, like working with people early in recovery. They say like Michelle, I just don't trust myself. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So like, what helped you develop that sort of trust within yourself?
So that was kind of a long process for me.
That happened after 25 years. We got some time.
Yeah, so, that was really tough.
Yeah.
Because I didn't trust anything, myself or anybody.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and I was so full of fear, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And how I got like a little bit of clarity on that was real simple. When I was in treatment, and I talked to my counselor about it and said to her, I'm afraid to walk down the corner to go to the store to buy cigarettes. And she looked at alone, and she looked at me and said, well, why are you going alone? And I said, well, how else am I going to go? And she said, well, you could ask somebody to go with you. And just those words and that thought that she gave to me, that
Yeah.
I could ask somebody else to go so that I wouldn't be afraid, was the beginning. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the beginning of being able to trust a little bit.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And then I did that, and I went to the store with somebody, so
Yeah.
it was good. And then when they said, okay, now you have to get a sponsor, and I was like, oh, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that.
Trust
Then I
anybody.
have to trust them. And I just shared the story the other day talking to somebody about sponsorship, and I went to a meeting, and I listened to a woman share, and she sounded real crazy,
Yeah.
and I identified with that. And I said, that's the one I'm going to ask. And I asked her, and that is really when the trust started to happen.
Yeah.
And I had faith that everything was going to be okay, and that
Yeah,
I was
that's
going to
it.
be okay.
Yep.
And it continued from there through the years. I've had 6 sponsors since I've been in this process. 4 of them have passed.
Yeah.
And what they gave me, I can't even explain
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
happened inside because of those people. And
Yeah.
that's how it happened through that process, and
Yeah.
having them be there for me without a doubt.
Yeah.
And then I began, like I said, to trust myself. And sometimes I get, still, should I really be thinking that?
Right.
But again,
Yeah.
because I've learned, I can ask somebody,
Yeah.
and I know I'm going to get the answer
Yeah.
that I need to get,
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
It's about the truth.
Right.
So,
So do you feel the same way, Vanetta, like that sort of trusting yourself now that?
Well, in the beginning, for me, trust. When I said in the beginning, when I said I didn't trust myself,
Yeah.
it wasn't basically about picking up. It was basically about not sticking and staying, and
Yeah.
not being able to hold myself accountable, or being able to. First of all, trust is like Robin said, it was a long process.
Yeah.
I trusted that if I didn't use, because early on in my recovery, I had women who told me, like, you can't use no matter what. You can't use nothing
Yeah.
without permission, not even a Tylenol.
Yeah.
That's how, when I came around, women were saying, you need to run that by somebody before you take a Tylenol.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a Tylenol? Jesus Christ. Yeah? So trusting for me was to open my mind
Yeah.
to new possibilities, first of all, and faith. And, you know, they talk about faith being a substance of things that are hoped for, the evidence of things that are not seen. And I had a sponsor who taught me how to have faith, no matter whether I saw it happening, whether whether I believed it was going to happen 10 years, 5 years.
Yep.
So I trusted the faith, and then when I started to see the evidence come through,
Yeah.
that built the trust in me to be able to step out on faith. And
Yep.
she told me, in order to recover, not to stay clean, because there's a difference for me.
Yeah.
You could be as clean as Mr. Clean's bald head, but when it comes down to recovery, that's the work
Yep.
that you do with it.
Definitely.
And so I begin to trust evidence, because if I didn't see it, it wasn't happening.
Right.
So I begin to trust without seeing the evidence, but having the faith that it's going to happen as long as I did X, Y, or Z, that it was going to pull through.
Right.
You know, and then, being patient about the process of recovery.
Yeah.
And not thinking that I should be somewhere that I should be. I got this much clean time. Nope, just keeping it a day at a time.
Yep.
In a day, not worrying about where I'm at or where I should be, but trusting that, as long as I don't pick up. That was the whole thing. They always said it. If you don't pick up, all else will follow.
Right.
And so that built trust in me, and it was a long period of time. Still today,
Yeah.
I have to, up my faith and pray for faith. God, I know that you're going to work this out. No matter what I feel or what I think, I know that you're going to work it out. So trust is something that was built within me, and I trust the process today.
Yeah.
Because of the evidence in my life.
Right.
I trust the process.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, once we start building on those little pieces, you start to see things unfold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that builds my trust even still today. There's nothing that I do today that I don't first run it by God. I run it by my sponsor. By the way, Robin is my sponsor.
Yep.
And for those, who feel as though, someone with less clean time than you can't sponsor you, well, we are sitting here as evidence of that.
Yeah.
I was actually working at the treatment facility that she came through.
Yep. That's good because that segues into talking. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good, good.
And so years later,
Yep.
I needed a sponsor because I trusted the process of recovery, and I knew that I needed something to continue to do the work that I needed to do to get where I'm at, and it just came right out of my mouth. I went to her job for something else,
Yeah.
and I happened to see her, and I said, "Hey, can you sponsor me?"
Yeah.
And it took her by surprise.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, I guess. I said, I will talk, and we went on about our business. So. That's how things work. And so I trusted that process, and I still trust it today, because that was like how many years ago?
That was a while ago.
It was a while ago, like
At
10
least
years,
10.
10
That's what I
years
was
ago?
thinking.
10 or 11.
10 or 11 years
Yeah.
ago. And so when you know something is working, when you're in recovery and you're an addict in recovery,
Yeah.
you know that's what you stick with. There's
Yeah.
no need to change it, whether you want to at times or not. You know that it works for you, and so you continue the work that we do together for our own lives with some other women,
Yep.
newer women, older women. We do the work, and we still recover today. We
Right.
still do the work today. So that trusting process is built on little pieces, like a puzzle
Yes.
that's put together. And fear comes in. Fear is face everything and run,
Yep. Yep.
or face everything and recover.
Right.
You can do it either way you want.
Yep.
There's another word that we use, but
Yeah,
I
I
can't
was gonna
use
say.
it.
They might bleep us out. But
Yeah, but they'll bleep us out. But basically, treatment is where I started.
Yeah.
I just didn't walk in the door of recovery, because my story is a little different than Robin's. My disease took me down to a low level
Yep.
of homelessness.
Yep.
I was a derelict. A derelict is a bum.
Yeah.
And that's where my disease took me at. So.
Yep.
By the grace of God, I'm where I'm at today, and the program of, a 12-step program.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's great.
So you guys both are, you either probably know people that are in treatment now or see the differences from back when you guys were both in treatment or when I was in treatment. What do you guys see, or what do you think worked back then that might be missing now? Because we still see a lot of, not a lot of successes coming through treatment. And sometimes I feel like the political correctness kind of messed with treatment a little bit. It's not the same as it used to be. I'll stop there before I get myself in trouble.
That is a kind of a touchy subject.
Yeah.
What I see, treatment wasn't cuddling
Right.
back then.
That's a good point. Yeah.
There was no cuddling at all. And I was in a facility in this city of Lynn.
Yep.
I came to Lynn, and the women that were in the detox with me, they were, don't go to Lynn.
Yeah.
Don't you go, you know. But I took the suggestion. I came to this city,
Yeah.
and they set the platform.
Yeah.
This is what we're telling you to do. You know, and if you can't do it, you know, you may want to find someplace else to go. It was just that simple.
Yeah.
It was just that simple. And they basically raised us.
Yes.
They raised me. I had a counselor, and you know, I will be ever so grateful. He, you know, he's a veterinarian now, but he was just coming out of
Took another turn.
humans would get too
Interesting.
deep for him.
Yeah, that's too much.
But I was able to get him.
get it.
I was his first client.
Yep.
Alice School.
Yeah.
And so he is what God is. He was a godsend.
Yeah.
Because he took none of my crap.
Yep.
None of it at all.
Yeah.
He said, "This is what you got to get rid of. And this is what we're going to work with." He
Yeah.
said, "You got 48 hours to get rid of that."
Yeah.
And and I told that, you gotta go, you know.
Yeah.
And that's where my recovery began, is that point on, like taking the suggestions. And so I think what's missing back then, and we know that times change and
Yep.
things change, but I feel that there's too much cuddling.
Yeah.
And there are avenues to manipulate. Manipulation is a big part of an addict's warfare.
Right.
And so manipulation, and we all have suffered trauma, and trauma is a big thing.
Yeah.
However, I feel as though what's missing is the accountability
Yeah.
from the addict themselves. It's almost like we have this swing to catch them.
Right.
Sometimes you got to let them bust their head to the white meat
Right,
in
right.
order for anything to seep in.
Get in.
And so I think that that's what's missing is that commitment and accountability from the addict themselves. And,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, politically we change things, and there's a lot of things that's been allowed and this and that, and for whatever reason. But when we have to start holding the addict accountable.
Yeah.
Still.
I know when I was in treatment, and like Vanetta said, she was working in that treatment facility when I got there. That was a treat. And yeah, that's another story. But anyway, it was really strict. It was really strict, and you know, you had to be up at a certain time. You had to go to bed at a certain time. You had groups all day long. There was no watching TV.
Right.
You couldn't watch TV.
Yep.
I can remember begging the director of the program to let me watch Barbra Streisand on Oprah because I love Barbra Streisand and I wanted to see it, and I hadn't seen TV for so long.
Yeah. Barbara.
I got to watch it, which was great. We went to meetings 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were no cell phones, no phones, like you couldn't do any of that stuff. And you could only go out if you were with a sponsor.
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening today.
Yeah.
I don't see that, you know, everything being based on recovery, and the groups that we would have during the day was around self and learning about self. Like I don't hear people in meetings that are in treatment talking about that.
Right.
And I know when we used to go, when we were in treatment, that's all we would talk about in a meeting.
Right.
I do know that a lot of times in meetings today, people like ourselves that were in treatment say, I wish I could go back for a long weekend, just to be there, just to
Right.
have that.
Focus on yourself.
Yeah, just to have
Yeah.
that time,
Yeah.
you know, and people that are in treatment look at us like,
Like
oh,
you're
they're crazy, you
Yeah.
know. They want to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
And we want to go back,
Yeah.
so. But I also think that, you know, just the process, like when they cut all the programming, and when they cut the detox stay down,
Yeah.
and like so many addicts suffered during that time.
Yeah.
And still, because it still isn't what it was as far as being able to be in detox.
Yeah.
Like 3 days is not enough.
No.
You know, I know if it had been me at that point, I would have definitely gone back out and used.
Yeah.
Because the first time when I did exactly that.
Yeah.
You need that time. You need that time, one, to get it out of your system, and two, to be away from all of that activity that happens. You know, they say you have to change everything.
Everything.
But you can't leave a detox and change everything.
No.
And especially if you don't go into treatment.
Right.
You know, not everybody goes to treatment.
That's right.
Yeah.
I suggest it because, again, not everybody's there for the same reason, but it is a safe place to be for the most part.
Absolutely.
You know, and if you do what you need to do for yourself while you're there, you'll get what you need,
Right.
which is another day clean.
Yep.
But I think when everything politically did change, and that was, oh God, I can remember, probably like 2001, 2002 back
Yeah.
then, that was a sad day for people trying to get this.
Get in and,
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and get in and get the help that they need,
Yes.
Right.
and being told, no, there's no bed. You know, treatment's important.
Yeah.
Treatment's important.
It is.
And it's important to have people that understand a recovering addict or an addict trying to be in recovery, what they need,
Right.
and not necessarily just book smart.
Right.
Right.
Well, I
know.
think, I just kept thinking in my head, you guys were talking about the strictness of the programs, and the one I went to was really strict as well, but the love was deep. So it wasn't like, I, just got out of school and I'm going to tell you what to do because it's fun to control people.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like coming from a place of love and
loving-
understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could feel that
Yeah.
running through those programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one other thing I was going to say about that, what Robin was just touching on, but I lost it, of course. But yeah, something definitely has shifted, and I think more people in recovery used to work in those treatment facilities, and that's where we used to see that.
And you're absolutely right. And because there's such a lack of now recovery basin, like moving it towards recovery,
Yeah.
you don't really get people in recovery working in those places because now it's, I interviewed for a job in recovery, and the stuff that they put you through.
Yeah.
One lady, 3 people in the we were doing the 1 week training. They just said, I can't do this. And they up and they left because it's not recovery based.
Right.
It's basically addicts are looked at as consumers today. You know what I mean? When we went into treatment back in the day, like you said, it came from a place of love. It
Yeah.
came from a place of, of concern,
Yep.
commitment, and care. And it still comes from that place a little bit today, but at the same time, it's not producing successful stories.
Right.
They stay successful for a minute, and then they're right back because
Right,
they
they're
don't-
missing the
they're missing the
foundation.
foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're missing the foundation, and that's what they provided for us back then.
Yeah.
Was a solid foundation for us to sit things on
Yep.
and kind of sort through stuff. You
Yeah.
know, so. We still do what we do,
Yeah.
because we know what we do is right, and if we can attack them inside of a meeting by sharing, or if they call us and we share with them honestly, sometimes if we share with them honestly, they don't want to hear it because they know there's work to do.
Right. There is.
There's work
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. There is.
There's work to do on
Right.
yourself.
Yeah.
We're not coming to cuddle you. There's no
Right.
cuddling. Let's do this here. This is a do or die situation.
Dig deep.
And you may not care about whether you die or not, but I care about whether you do. And if I can give you anything that will support you in living today, then that's what my job is. And you can't save everybody, and you can't even save anybody.
Yeah.
But I know the information that I have. When they come to me, they already know. Oh,
Yeah.
don't go to Vanetta if you don't
Want to hear the truth?
you don't hear the truth, you know. And I still stick to that today, but
Yeah.
my approach to them has changed. But what I give is still the standard of
Yeah.
still the same standard. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, there's all this kind of, it actually took me years to kind of go in the public and say that I'm a person in recovery. And that's how I kind of say it into the public, because I know general public hears, like if I go out and say I'm an addict, the public thinks, oh, you're still using, that's what people think, right? But my point is, for such a long time, I've been working in the treatment field for a long time, and the medical community trains us. And they're training us on things, and I'm sitting in the back saying, well, that's not really true. That's not how things go, and this and that. But I'm not willing to speak up and say, oh, I'm a person in recovery, and this is why I feel a certain way, or this is what worked for me. So this started changing after being bombarded with this stuff for so long. And that's why I think it's important that we don't, the group of people that are in long-term recovery, because sometimes the spokespeople for recovery are 6 months clean and still kind of confused.
Exactly.
So what, have you guys always been out about it with the general public, or is this sort of?
From day one.
Yeah.
From day one.
Wow.
For
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
From day one. Because I was taught that I had a choice to expose that.
Yeah.
And for me, I remember being a shift supervisor at a pharmacy in Lynn. It was my get well job.
Yeah.
And my roommate wanted to apply at that same pharmacy.
Yep.
So her counselor and the director pulled me into the office, and I'm like, what did I do wrong? And they said, listen, so-and-so wants to apply at that place, and they want to make sure that you don't tell them that you are an addict. I said, well, it's too late.
Yeah. They already know.
They already know,
Yeah.
because that's how I got my schedule to be what it is.
Right.
7 to 2:30. Bus comes at 2:55. Y'all told me I had to be home by 4. So that gives me some leg room to work with.
Yep.
They already know.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say at this point,
Yeah.
you know? And besides, we have the same phone number, which is the payphone.
Interesting.
Interesting. And so she didn't want to apply because she did not, and that was her choice.
Yep.
You know? But for me, I noticed that when I tell people my name is Vanetta and I'm an addict in
Yeah.
recovery,
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me how they define me.
Right.
It's my aim is to get connected with them
Yeah.
in any means necessary. And if I'm honest with them, I feel as though they could receive what I'm saying a little bit better.
Yep.
Even on my job, I work for a major company, you know,
Yep.
and I let people know when I see them, I look at them and I say, listen, I've been where you are. This is who I am, and if you need some help, I know how to get the help that you need.
Right.
They could take it or they can leave it. 9 times out of 10, it may not be instantly. Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But they circle right back around and they say, I really need to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know? I keep recovery literature in my car
Yeah.
because you just never know when the time. And I know what my purpose in life is. My purpose in life is to help someone achieve what I have achieved, and
Yeah.
I'm still achieving today.
Yep.
Because as long as I continue to do the work on me, I can help somebody do the work on them.
Absolutely.
And it's not like I'm saving anybody, but I'm available for society today. You talk about becoming a productive member of society. I lived under a bridge in Lowell, Massachusetts for a very long time.
Yep.
In a dark place.
Yeah.
And I mean for a very long time.
Yeah.
And today, I'm on top of the bridge saying, you don't have to live under that bridge anymore.
Yep.
I found a way out. This is how I did it. And if you want what I have, here's a couple suggestions that I did.
Yep.
And that is so overwhelming. That's how I know what God has put inside of me. Because it's expanded into my religious lifestyle and where I worship at.
Yep.
It's overwhelming. the turnaround and the openness, because they all know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm not afraid of being judged because I'm an addict in recovery.
Yep.
I'm afraid of being judged because of what I don't put out and what I don't, the
Right.
commitment that I don't make
Right.
for life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't broadcast it walking down the street.
Right. No, neither do I.
Yeah.
Right, neither do I.
That's what I used to do.
You know, right. We don't do that.
I don't
but,
do that.
Yeah.
But I have been very honest in the places
have
that
to.
I need to be honest
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
because they told me when I first came here, in order to make the changes, you have to tell the truth and
Yes.
be honest.
Yes.
And you're as sick as your secrets.
Yeah.
And that to me is a big secret if I'm holding on to that. And I don't want to hold on to
Right.
that.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the last thing I want to hold on to.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I have been able to, like Vanetta said, her get well job, I worked at Stop and Shop and
Me too.
for
That was the spot.
$4.80
All right.
an
I made
hour.
$5.60 or something.
Well, you started after
Started a
me.
little later.
$4.80 an hour is great.
Great.
After I was bringing home
Yeah.
a lot of money a week, but
Yeah.
you know, gave that away.
Yep.
It's all right.
Treatment fees.
And I right off the bat, I told them.
The slush
And like she said, there were about 6 of us that were working there. So a couple of us worked in the deli, produce,
Yeah.
fish,
Mm-hmm.
and so they knew anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I wasn't about to say, "Oh no, I don't go." You know.
Right.
Yep.
And it started there, and even when I moved on from there, I let my present boss know, you know, this is who I am, and this
Yeah.
is
Yep.
because I have to, because sometimes I'm not always, what do I want to say, on top of things, and sometimes I can react in different ways, and so I want people to know there's a reason behind that.
Right. If, like, please
There's a-
excuse
yeah,
me if I.
you know, and
Go off.
and if I do that, I can
Yeah.
apologize for that.
Yeah.
You know, like I can own my own stuff
Yep.
today, which I'm very grateful for because
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever come off in the wrong way and just be an idiot and not say anything about
Right.
it.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, which is what used to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to own on to any of that stuff. So I've always felt that honesty is the best policy
Absolutely.
when it comes
Yeah.
to all of that. And again, not to hold on to it because that makes me feel sicker.
Right.
And that I'm hiding something and I'm
Yeah.
not being my true self. You know, that is who I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
And
know.
we're human, we make mistakes.
Right.
Of course.
The best part about it is we get to say it.
Right.
Like,
And
hey, Vanessa,
correct
I
it.
totally screwed
Yeah.
up. And,
Right.
and forgive each other and move on.
Yeah,
Right.
and correct
Face
it.
it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
correct it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest blessings that we have, right? So we can like totally, I mean, I'm sure we've all like done stuff where we're like, oh my God. And then be able to talk to each other, admit it, and
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah, and move on.
Yeah,
Yep,
and that
done.
grows those bonds deeper. Too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're on our last couple of minutes.
All right.
See, I told you an hour flies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really nice having both of you guys. It felt
Nice
good.
being here.
Nice conversation. Hopefully, is there anything that we sort of didn't mention that we would want the general public to know about all the stuff we know inside or have, or do you think we covered?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of stuff. If I could say anything to the general public about addiction, you know, it is a family disease, and you know, sometimes we strive to save our loved ones by, you know, giving and giving and giving and giving until we just can't give anymore. Seek some help for yourself,
Yes. Yeah. So for the
Because-
families to recover too.
for the families to recover, because the attic has the treatment facilities, the 12-step programs, the daily IOPs, but the family also needs a
Yeah.
process of recovery.
Absolutely.
And it's not a shameful event. It's nothing that we did or didn't do. It is a disease, and it strikes anybody. But when the family gets involved in their own recovery and their own acceptance that there's a problem,
Yep.
and that, you know, don't be ashamed because you think that your friends' kids are not messed up. Yeah, they're just as messed up.
Yeah.
You just don't see it.
Yeah.
Reach out and get yourself some help as well so that you can be equipped to
Yeah.
deal and possibly save or help, you know, a loved one in your family or a loved one next door. You just never know.
Yes.
So, you know, for the general public, like the disease of addiction, you know, it is what it is. You know, we're losing this battle on drugs, and basically our children are dying young. And so, you know, just be proactive in helping yourself to be more active in helping your loved ones.
Yeah, that's great, definitely. Okay, so I think we're about at the end of our show.
Okay, I think it was a great show. I personally learned a lot and absorbed a lot. So I hope everybody else that was watching did too. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And we look forward to seeing you next episode. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Prevention Works with an E.
Yeah, so thanks everybody for being
Thanks
here.
for asking.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
Yeah.
us. It was great.
Definitely.
Yeah.